Hey guys, the Firebird is here. It's just me. My brother couldn't be here today because he's crying. Why is he crying? I don't know. This person didn't specify, so fill in the blanks in the comments down below why my brother is crying. Maybe his anime wife who broke up with him. Anyways, these are the jokes. So today we're gonna be talking about an old Transformers conspiracy theory which, surprisingly enough, doesn't get talked about much in the Transformers community. No, seriously. I searched on YouTube and I only seen one YouTube video, which was on Spanish. Went to the Spanish YouTubers coming up with this stuff first. And it talks about the possibility of Sentinel Prime being on the servers of Quintessa. It's one of those things that probably you thought about once in a while when you think about the movies, but never really, dissected it too much or looked too much into it. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. I'm gonna be talking about the possibility, the evidence, the theory, and all of that stuff to find out if this is. But anyways, before we go on, I want to give a quick shout out to Optimal Price for the fan art of the day. He made this painting of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, and this looks great. Honestly, I try my hand at painting with brushes and stuff. I'm not very good at it, so the fact that you were able to make this, it's really impressive. It looks sick, my man. Keep up the good work. And again, if you want to have your art featured here and get a shout out from me, join my Discord server and put your art in the art section. Oh, throw it. My brother couldn't be here today, Joe. Either or. Okay, so before we analyze the possibility, let's talk about Quintessa and Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime was the previous Autobot leader before Optimus Prime, and his whole thing was that, war destroyed our world, so I want to work with the Decepticons to bring Cybertron to Earth and use Earth's resources to rebuild war-torn Cybertron. And Quintessa, her plans were basically, hey, Unicron's evil, we're gonna suck the life out of Unicron, we're gonna transfer it to Cybertron, and we're gonna kill Unicron and bring back Cybertron from its destroyed state. So the reason why people think these two are in cahoots is because their plans are very similar, They both basically want to bring Cybertron to Earth's orbit, they both want to suck Earth's resources to Cybertron in order to rebuild it. So making the correlation there is not very difficult. And unlike the Fallen, who just wanted to harvest, Earth's sun, and Lockdown, who just wanted to capture Optimus Prime, the plans of these two are the ones that intertwine the most. And Megatron also kind of was the same thing, but he's not part of the conversation, at least just yet. Now, personally, one of the reasons why I always thought that Sentinel Prime was in cahoots with Quintessa, or at least it was heavily implied that he was, is by the ending scene of Dark of the Moon. When Optimus Prime kills Megatron, and then we have Sentinel Prime basically lamenting everything that happened, trying to get Optimus Prime to understand what he did, what he had to do. When Sentinel Prime starts talking, it sounds like he has way more to say. If you look at that clip again and pay close attention to the audio, you can see the Sentinel Prime was about to say more.
All I ever wanted was the survival of our race. You must see why I had to betray you.
You didn't betray me. You betrayed yourself.
No, Optimus!
Personally, I always interpreted this scene with the context of Age of Extinction and The Last Night as Sentinel Prime, being like, Optimus, you gotta understand. The universe is a whole lot larger than we understand, and Earth's not what it seems. We had to save Cybertron because Unicron and Earth by default are evil. The humans are the spawn of Unicron, and we gotta destroy them. The Decepticons are right. I think he was trying to imply that if he was gonna say that, but then he was cut off by Optimus. Now granted, this part's speculation on my part, but it actually fits in quite nicely with the context of the movies and everything else. Now, the next question we need to know is if Sentinel Prime was working for Quintessa out of his own volition, or if he was possessed like Optimus Prime was in TLK. We know that Quintessa does a weird thing to her subjects, like she slapped Optimus, gave him the red mark, they colorized his face a little, and that made him evil, with purple eyes and everything. But with Megatron, while Megatron also has the red mark, and the red mark's basically Dark Energon. I made a video about it if you guys want to know the context of it. And in this universe, Dark Energon is not exactly the blood of Unicron. In this universe, well, at least it hasn't been confirmed. In this universe, according to the people who work in the production, Dark Energon is actually like, a form of Energon that can manipulate and brainwash Cybertronians. This is what Quintessa used to manipulate Optimus Prime, and it's implied that she also did this for Megatron, although for Megatron you could argue that he was working out of his own free will. Now, at no point do we see Sentinel Prime with a similar thing. The closest thing that approximates this will be like his first on-screen appearance in the movie, where we see him on the moon and we see that, you know, there's parts of him badly rusted, which are kinda similar to the way the color degradation for Optimus Prime happening the last night, but I feel like I'm sort of stretching here. You could argue as this, you know, being Quintessa showing up on the moon once and, you know, like telling Sentinel Prime, hey, stay here until Megatron rescues you and proceed with the plan. But I don't think so. I feel like this is just color deterioration, because Megatron made it explicitly clear in Dark of the Moon that their original plan was to rendezvous on Earth, where they were gonna, you know, use the pillars to transport Cybertron and pillage, you know, the world's resources. Sentinel Prime was on board with this plan from the very beginning. Now, we do know that he's in cahoots with Megatron, and apparently Megatron knew about Quintessa for quite a while. Well, you see, the last night is so complicated because there's so many things that contradict with all of the other movies. But basically, the Fallen was Megatron's master, and according to the Fallen, there were no more Primes. So I guess by default that means that Quintessa didn't contact Megatron until the Fallen died, and you know, where Megatron got his whole new body. Just watch the TFI Creations, how Megatron made Quintessa video. I think that's pretty much spot on. I don't think Megatron knew about Quintessa exactly until that point. Because in one of the many, and I mean many different versions of The Last Night, which I also made a video about, so you can go and check it out. I covered deleted scenes, cut content, and changed dialogue from all the different versions of TOK. In one specific scene, Megatron refers to Quintessa as
Quintessa, the most ruthless of our gods, knew you couldn't do it.
For Cybertronians, Primes are gods. That's the reason why all the Autobots kind of adore Optimus Prime, because for them he's like a living god. Sentinel Prime even made reference to this in Dark of the Moon. He said, on Cybertron, we were gods. So, Megatron referring to Quintessa as a god pretty much kind of confirms that she's also a Prime, even though I know there's quite a bit of debate on that. I believe she is a Prime. I think she is. I know she's called the Great Deceiver, but I'm pretty sure at least that statement is true. You could probably try and argue that Quintessa probably met Sentinel Prime and Megatron on Cybertron and told them, hey, there's this planet, it's called Earth, it's pretty chill, we could go there, steal the Earth's resources to rebuild Cybertron, because Cybertron is Primus and Earth's Unicron. So it's completely morally justifiable to destroy that planet and save ours. Because remember, because I know for people who just watch the movies, the whole Primus and Unicron thing was pretty confusing, but Unicron is basically the Transformers equivalent of Satan, and Primus is basically the Transformers god. Like, the Primus will be Jesus and, you know, Primus will be God, just to give you an idea. Now, in all of the movies, Megatron has been very obsessed with destroying the Earth. Well, not just destroying it, but also using the Earth's resources to, you know, rebuild Cybertron. That was actually the main purpose of the first, second, third, and fifth movie. The fourth movie, Galvatron would just want an army to presumably, you know, go back to his old plan all over again, but who knows. All that hair ripping surely gave him brain damage. I could theoretically see Quintessa, you know, probably contacting Megatron or Sentinel Prime before the events of the movie. Because what you need to remember is that Sentinel Prime was the leader of the Autobots before Optimus took over. And something else that we need to keep in mind is the relationship between Sentinel Prime and Megatron. I know this is mostly about Quintessa and Sentinel Prime, but Megatron is like the awkward third wheel that we need to talk about to figure out if this is true. Sentinel Prime hates Megatron, like really hates him. Like, man just like unprovoked tore half of Megatron's face halfway throughout the movie just to remind him that he didn't want to work for him. Sentinel Prime is clearly doing this out of his own volition. I don't think he's possessed. Maybe Quintessa deceived him into, you know, helping the Decepticons carry on with the destruction of Earth, giving credence to her title as the Great Deceiver. Amber Heart. But realistically speaking, Megatron couldn't possibly know about Quintessa until after the Fallen died. Because, you know, the Fallen said, you know, the last of the Primes is dead. Well, no, Sentinel Prime's still out there, but then again, they don't know that because Sentinel Prime is in stasis. He's basically near dead, if not dead. So, being in stasis, you know, doesn't count. And Quintessa should, you know, theoretically still be out there because she's the creator, remember? She created Optimus Prime, so she had to be active a long time ago, and even to the present day. But now you guys might be thinking, but wait, Fire, you said that Quintessa's a Prime, and that the Fallen, you know, said that she's the last of the Primes. Well, we already established the Fallen can't detect Primes that are near dead, like Sentinel Prime. And also at the same time, I think the following only said that because Optimus Prime was the only publicly named Prime, in the universe. It's not like Quintessa went around telling everyone, hey, I'm a Prime. Remember that the alias that Quintessa used was quote-unquote the creators. That's how she basically presented herself publicly. It's like a book author, giving themselves a new name to mask their identity or whatever when they write a book. She's basically doing that, giving herself a surname. But yeah, listen, as far as we know, Megatron and Quintessa did met. Quintessa did convince Megatron about Unicron and the whole thing. It probably happened after the Fallen dies because none of them ever mentioned her as a Prime. And according to Megatron's statements later in the movie, apparently she is a Prime. Meaning that both the Fallen and Megatron didn't know about Quintessa's existence by the point of the second movie. However, Sentinel Prime knowing about her is an entirely different thing. Now, it always struck to me as weird that Sentinel Prime just decided out of nowhere to betray the Autobots. And also, Sentinel Prime was the leader of the Autobots. He was responsible for their lives, for protecting Cybertron from defeating the Decepticons. He doesn't even like the Decepticons. He made it very clear he hated Megatron. And at the same time, whenever he worked with the Decepticons, he never referred to them as my brothers. We must destroy the Autobots. He was like, Decepticons ship, target Optimus. Like, I know I'm being very linguistic YouTube analyst with this, but that's distancing behavior. He's referring to them as they and not exactly as we, meaning that he definitely finds disgust working with the Decepticons. And I think he was genuinely remorseful at the end of the film, where, he was trying to confess his sins to Optimus and beg for forgiveness. Even halfway throughout the movie, when he had Optimus Prime pinned down, he could have killed him, but he didn't. Sentinel Prime, I feel like he genuinely cares about the lives of his Autobots and doesn't take pleasure in the murder of an entire planet or even the murder of, fellow Autobots like Ironhide. So something had to drive him over the edge. Something had to happen. There had to be a very convincing argument to convince Sentinel Prime to trust Megatron and go along with it. And I think that's Quintessa. Now, Quintessa is the Prime of life. Apparently, she can create stuff. She created the, Guardian Knight. She created Optimus and supposedly the Dinobots, though I'm not too sure about that one. So for all intents and purposes, she is the god of life. Now, Sentinel Prime is just a god, like a warrior, a Prime. So what better motivation than having the little god of life come to you and tell you, Sentinel Prime, your world is dying. We must fix it. Also, Earth's over there, it's pretty chill. You should steal Earth's resources. And also Earth's Unicron, literally Satan. Go kill it and it spawns. It's fine, they're born from evil, so it's morally justifiable to kill them. And we do know the Sentinel Prime is a big fan of for the greater good mentality. He literally says this in the film.
You simply fail to understand that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
And I think Quintessa was just the push that Sentinel Prime needed to be like, okay, we need to join forces with the Decepticons to save our planet and save the universe from Unicron awakening and wreaking havoc all over it. And this way makes the timeline make more sense. Sentinel Prime's reasons for betraying the Autobots is more justifiable and understandable. Well, I mean, they're not justifiable because it's still wrong what he does. He killed my boy Ironhide, that's the biggest crime of them all. But at least we can understand him better and be like, okay, I get what he's doing this instead of, oh lol, I'm evil now, I'm gonna kill a fan favorite character. And also, coincides with the Fallen and Megatron didn't know anything about being other Primes out there like Quintessa and Sentinel Prime. It still allows to keep the continuity relatively intact. When Sentinel Prime dies and there's no one else to carry her plan, Quintessa goes to the next best option, being Megatron. Gives him a whole sweet new body and tells him about Unicron and her whole plan. Which leads us to the events of the last night, where they tried the Sentinel Prime thing all over again. This time they actually get kinda close to succeeding, but not quite. And they get beaten in the end. And we end up the film with a cliffhanger that will never be resolved. But yeah guys, that's the whole, where Sentinel Prime and Quintessa are working together theory. It's one of my favorite theories. I honestly like it because I think it makes a whole lot of sense. It's just filling in the holes can be kinda tricky, especially for the timeline, but it's one of my favorite theories for the movies. It's not quite up there with the lead food theory I did a while back, because I think that one, not only is it potentially true, but it has my favorite narrative in Transformers. But this one comes kinda close since it kinda makes Sentinel Prime a bit more of a tragic and interesting character as opposed to, the random MacGuffin that just came in and turn evil out of nowhere. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with my theory that Sentinel Prime and Quintessa were in fact working together? Do you think that Megatron knew about her before TOK, or did he just found out after Age of Extinction? Again, I know it's not a perfect theory, there's holes everywhere, and I did my best to fill in the holes and make the timeline make sense, even though that's more than Michael Bay ever did for the movies. But let me know your wild, crazy speculation that you guys have out there, because I feel like there's a whole bunch of interesting stuff to talk about here. As always, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. It lets me know that you guys want to see more. And if there's any other crackpot Transformers theories you guys want me to cover, let me know in the comments down below, or even my Discord server. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys. Anyways, guys, before we go, shout out to our amazing patrons: Xavier the God, Stitch Productions, Scrub Lordo, Allspark Studios, Epic Nin, Lord Racer, Transformers Gears and Brawn, that's well a long name, Up Nation Reviews, Joshua, and our newest patron, James. And an even bigger shout out to our even bigger patrons, Jordan the Great and X23, who donated a amount of money. By donating to my Patreon, you get quite a few rewards. Get a shout out to you and your YouTube channel in the description down below. You get to collab with me in some of my videos if you so choose to. You can request some artwork from me, get exclusive early access to some of my videos, and some other projects I'm currently working on in the background. And I'm constantly updating the Patreon with brand new rewards and new content for you guys to enjoy. And a bunch of other stuff I plan to make public in the future. Keep in mind this is 100% optional, since freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Thank you guys so much for donating, it's much appreciated, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys.